Beyond.
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 Beyond. It is beyond the show.
Stop it.
Beyond.
Stop doing that.
Beyond.
Thank you. Welcome to Podcast Beyond, episode 415, I think.
My last episode.
Wow.
Yikes.
My name is Max Scoville.
Yikes.
With me today is Marty Sleva.
Hi, Max.
Appearing in his last episode ever because he's a big baby is Brian Altano.
Big dirty dog. Beyond.
And Andrew Goldfarb.
Hey, there are so many B's. Big, baby, brat, beyond.
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 That's also my last episode,
Stop doing that.
It's just the me and Max show.
Apparently people really like when I don't like it when I don't like when people fart in this room before we have to lock ourselves in.
There's a real brutal fart in this room.
We're setting up every time
And
we
we
come
just
in
It's
here.
gonna be like Clue.
We have a suspect, but I don't think we're allowed to say who he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every
The guy
time
who was in here?
No, he's more important than us.
one of those guys was in here. Yeah, every time we come in here, it's always kind of a VR mission. We don't really know what we're up against. There's sort of this weird like
the microphones are all
course.
unplugged.
Yeah,
They're like-
somebody
yeah.
hid one in the corner.
Yeah.
There's a fart.
There was a squatter.
This time there was a fart, and we just found out about it and had to. That's a really this is insulated. This is like soundproofed.
It's also it's always 1,000 degrees in here. At least I think it is. And someone on YouTube finally pointed out how sweaty I was in one of the episodes because it was like the one where I came in after the Call of Duty thing. Like I just started sweating. Like,
Are you saying someone on YouTube was mean?
This is a
they
great
weren't
room
mean.
if we wanted
They're
to
correct.
make baby chicks hatch out of eggs. It's an awful room
Yeah,
if we
it's
want to make the smell of a fart get less bad.
It's like an incubator, but not in that dumb, lame San Francisco tech way, in like an actual incubator.
It's sometimes a show about PlayStation.
Okay, let's do that.
It's a show about this room that no one listening on audio
it's a
can
room,
see.
yeah. Well, they presumably we're in a room. We
Yeah,
don't sound like
theater
we're
of
in
the
a
mind.
field.
Yo.
Yeah, PlayStation. It continues to be a video game system that they release games for. It's kind of one of those.
Stop it.
It's one of those kind of off weeks. We got an NPD recently, which is when they count all of the video games that got sold, and then people yell at each other in comment sections about them.
What does NPD stand for?
I actually don't know what MPD stands for. But it is the U.S. polls, though. It is U.S. sales. So it's traditionally been only at retail, like point of sale. Very recently, they kind of began the process of online retailers and digital and stuff. But it's still a little bit not completely representative of every single sale, but it's getting there.
It doesn't count certain.
Like for a long time, Walmart wasn't on
it doesn't count Walmart. It doesn't count digital sales.
I think now it's starting to.
Although publishers, and it's very weird because NPD controls the message in terms of what they send to all the people who are allowed to read it, which is a very small group of people, right?
Well, so basically the idea is that it's the second Thursday of every month at 3:30 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
We get a drop, which is the top 10 best-selling software sales in the United States for that month. And then they do commentary on their larger report. So an analyst will say, like, okay, like, this is like what we can tell you about trends and how it compares to a year ago and 5 years ago. And if there's something like, oh, it's the first time a sports game has ever been number 4 or things like that.
So there's cool stuff like that.
But then like publishers and developers and people who pay very high amount of money, like someone's yearly salary, can get a very detailed report with specific sales numbers.
Which is very insane because I remember looking, we had that once where we dug so deep into it that we found the Call of Duty sales on the Wii.
It's not even. It's even more obscure than that. It's like
where we saw,
somewhere in the United States, some random Kmart sold one copy of a Game Boy Advance game
of Scooby-Doo's Mystery Adventure.
Exactly, and it's on that list.
So it's all
like,
in there.
wow.
But where it gets very strange is that they control all of that messaging until Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft go, oh, we're going to send out an email also. And one of two things can happen. One, they send that email, and it's got this very kind of braggadocious, like, we're the number one, blah, blah, blah.
Braggadocious.
Yeah,
or
that's
number
the name of Brian's
two,
iOS game.
they never send an email.
Non-canonical.
Number two is they don't send an email at all, which means it's just like everything cool over there.
And it's funny because it's this weird role reversal where during the previous generation, Sony never sent out an email. Like it was always Microsoft, like, oh, look at that, 44 consecutive months.
I mean,
but like now it's
if you don't have
the opposite.
anything nice to say, you don't say anything.
Yeah.
You would think so, although Microsoft does still release statements. They're very interesting. They're like, oh, like we're up month over month and things like that.
Yeah, it's moving the goalposts. Like they'll send an email being like, Halo had its best hair day ever.
Yeah, and there's like, you'll see these interesting pieces of commentary, like Activision will release a thing that's like, oh, like Disney Infinity outsold us this month, but they were available the full month and we were only available a week. So if you think about it, we did better. Like you get all these weird little like
Nintendo
caveats
sent
to it.
one that was like, we're up 110% month over month. And you're like, well, what were you last month?
Exactly,
40.
and that's the thing. Like they were like Wii U sales. It's like Mario Maker increases Wii U sales by like 80%.
So do you have any actual insight on this month's whole roundabout? Do you want to pull that?
I'll vamp while he's going. But aside from the MPD stuff, Sony did say that last month was the PlayStation Store's best month in history.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
A lot of that is probably because people played the Battlefront beta, and they were
which
like,
I think was over 9 million people.
Yeah.
And it was also
Destiny, Taken King. It was whatever the
It was Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Metal Gear, FIFA, NBA, and Madden were the 4 big Sony
month.
titles. Yep.
So that's crazy because it's not technically even into like holiday season yet.
Yep.
You know?
Oh, and that's the thing. Like Madden, you're never going to see like a September or August where Madden's not somewhere on this list, right? Like they kind of own those months. But the top 10 was NBA, Madden, Metal Gear, FIFA, Destiny, Taken King, Mario Maker, Disney Infinity, Mad Max, NHL, and Minecraft, which is still hung on at retail, which is crazy.
So
when
that's
you think about what that
the
game does.
overall top 10 for the entire industry, basically, right?
In the U.S. Although UK charts are generally very similar, unless you get like a weird case where a game comes out a week early in the UK.
FIFA will tilt like a little stronger there. Than
of course,
here,
yeah.
obviously.
And whereas Madden tilts stronger here, exactly. But yeah, it's super. I mean, I think obviously Sony's doing really well. The interesting thing will be Halo, obviously, and Tomb Raider are only on Xbox One, but then I would be very surprised if Battlefront and Fallout don't sell better on PS4. So you have this really interesting
Why
dynamic.
Fallout?
Well, I don't know. It's like just because there's a bigger install base on PS4.
Yeah, but
I mean,
like
they're
the bundles
aligning
and stuff with.
Sure, they're aligning with Microsoft, but I think just by the sheer number of people who have this console and who it wanted to, it is the more powerful console this gen.
Was the PS4 the best-selling console of the month?
Yes.
Okay.
Once again. Yep.
So how many times is that? Do you know how many times that's happened this year, or how many times it didn't happen this year?
To my knowledge, it hasn't not happened yet.
Really?
Or maybe there was one or two
I think
off
there was like
months.
1 or 2 months where the Xbox One out.
Yeah, there might have been a couple. I mean, like if there were, they're every few months, sure.
Right.
But I don't think there's never been like a complete landslide. I would imagine maybe Halo makes that up. Although maybe not because it's the end of the month. Like it's out in the 27th.
See, I was actually thinking about this in terms of like battle of exclusives, which is not really happening this fall. Like the PS4 doesn't really have anything that's just like this is it. But if you look at say Uncharted was dropping this fall, Uncharted 4. Do you think that has more mass appeal than a game like Halo does? Because I feel like Halo is sort of like the Halo train left the station for me years ago, and I don't even know how to catch it anymore. So to me, there's no interest in it. But Uncharted is something I feel like you can kind of dip in and out of and sort of be like, oh, it's this kind of like bombastic action movie that you can play. That's
a really good question because I mean, you look at them, they're exclusives.
Yeah.
Last gen, I mean, Halo. I guess kind of had it has a head start on Uncharted. More people are, it's been around longer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it's also like, I think it's kind of, it showed up at a time when stories in games wasn't really something people were kind of driving too much. Like there was just like, you shoot the aliens. All right, that's cool. That works.
People were looking for a good sort of like, they were looking for kind of like the next GoldenEye.
And it's also like, Halo's always been M-rated, right? Like it's always been
until now.
This
one's T.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it came out. But it's if you show it side by side with something that has like real guns in it.
Yeah.
Mom's gonna be like, well, those little gremlin men have purple stuff coming out of them, so that's not quite as scary. Then Whereas
I feel like Halo is speaking a lot to the Halo crowd. And they just keep kind of doubling down on that audience rather than bringing in new people.
Sure.
Maybe I'm completely out of the loop. Whereas I feel like Sony, and obviously this is like a biased platform, this is a PlayStation themed podcast, but I feel like Sony does a better job of making their stuff a little more mass audience, a little more accessible.
Yeah, I think with you mostly it's that you're not, like Star Wars aside, you're not that into sci-fi. Like,
I love sci-fi.
Like what else? I never hear you talk about sci-fi.
It's weird. It comes out once in a while, but
I really I do love a lot of sci-fi. I don't really associate Halo with sci-fi as much as it like feels like Marines in space.
The thing,
it feels like a bad B war movie that has some alien stuff in it.
Halo's always had kind of the guts of like aliens, but without the horror element or the human element.
Yeah.
It's kind of like here's pulse rifles and drop jets. Like
for me, Halo came up at a time when I didn't need it to be anything but that, though. Like, I loved, like, Halo 2 was college for me. That came out I guess it would have been freshman, or maybe it was the end of high school, but I think it came out my freshman year of college. And that was all we did in the dorms. Right. And it was, like, that multiplayer experience. And especially the first Halo, like, I never owned an original Xbox, or maybe I did the very end, but I mostly just played it at friends' houses and did local multiplayer.
It had that social side
and
to it.
so this new kind of era now, like, Call of Duty is huge, and so are a billion other games, Battlefront, like games come out with multiplayer only components now, which wasn't really as much of a thing, and now people do want something like The Last of Us or something like Uncharted that is maybe delivering more of a story. So it's an interesting comparison.
Do you think Battlefront can sell more units on PS4 than Halo can on Xbox One?
I mean, it's such a weird thing because Star Wars. I mean, I don't think that speaks to the Battlefront the game so much as the power of the franchise.
Sure,
right now.
of course.
The power of the Force.
Yeah, we did it. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Follow
That was
us on
Brian's
Twitter.
last episode ever.
Yep. But I mean, the MPD doesn't care, right? Numbers are numbers.
No, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. I mean, like, there's this weird thing where there are numbers that aren't on that list, like something like Skylanders or Disney Infinity. Yeah, they might not be selling a lot of software that month, but they probably made a ton of money on figures, and Nintendo is making more money off of amiibos than any game that they're ever going to have appear in this
There
list.
was also, like, there were times where I think it was, what was it, Wii Play was in the top 5 for, like, 2 years.
Just because people wanted that
people wanted
remote.
the controller.
It was a controller bundle then. So what I'm driving towards is, like, is Sony's tactic here of grouping a bunch of high-profile third-party stuff together and kind of pushing it out in front and being like, they're going to speak for us.
Yes.
Versus one or two high-profile.
I think
I mean, Shuhei talked to me about this at E3. Like, that was his whole thing. He's like, we don't need exclusives this year because, like, we know we're going to lead in the third-party stuff, and why compete? Like, why would they? There's no reason for them to put out Uncharted right now because even, and I mean, obviously they want more time on it anyway. But even if somehow that game was done and they were sitting on it, like, why put it out in November alongside 400-hour games that everyone's going to be playing when you know that you can
They're
wait?
taking a leap of faith there. You know, they're being like, this is, and it's probably for the best.
Yeah.
You know, like taking not like scrambling to get that holiday rush in is.
And they just announced a price drop. I mean, like, they have, like, the system is cheaper than it's been. You can go out and buy day one, buy a Battlefront bundle and have plenty of hard drive space and play everything you've missed up to this point. And
It's got a picture of Darth Vader on it.
yeah, and it was. He's a famous guy.
The, like,
Popular star.
popular
Star
war.
Popular Star Warrior.
He is a Star Warrior. I mean, of all the big third-party games this fall, I think Fallout's the only one that's pivoting towards Xbox. I mean,
and
Destiny,
again,
Syndicate, and Battlefront are all.
Yeah.
Those pivots, though, like, almost, you know, it's the same. Like, Call of Duty is leaning towards PlayStation this year, which I think is arguably the bigger get. But I mean, I think Fallout will sell very well on Xbox, but I think it's also going to sell very well on
Bethesda's
PS4.
doing something kind of interesting, and if you look at how they tackled E3 this year, they had their own little their own press conference, which was ahead of everything else, and they pretty much made it their show by being like, hey, guess what we're revealing? A game that comes out this year.
Right.
You don't have to wait too long for it, which is so smart, just brilliant from a marketing standpoint. But I thought it was really odd that they had kind of attached themselves to Microsoft, and I really am curious how long ago the ink or how that deal was inked. You know, like how at what point were they like, yeah, Microsoft, we're gonna have Xbox support, like, because Fallout's been in the works for ages. Like, there's no doubt about that, and these things do take time to kind of line up. E3 booths and stuff are planned, you know, years in advance, and I can't help but wonder if maybe they're kind of playing both sides of the field and being like, we know that it's gonna do better numbers on PS4 just based on install base, but is this kind of like Microsoft courted them and was like in the same way that Tomb Raider's a timed exclusive? They're like, hey,
I mean,
can we get
remember that story about Microsoft giving Rockstar $50 million for GTA exclusive stuff?
But again, it's
that?
such a, like, this. I was actually just going to bring that up too. It's such a different scenario though, because, like, this is just guaranteed marketing money and promotional space. But, like, DLC does not come first to Xbox. Like, they were very clear that, like, they're not doing that anymore, and it's very, like,
Yeah, but
like,
Xbox has the mod support, which is
Mod
interesting.
support.
right, and that's awesome. And, like, obviously the backwards compatibility of Fallout 3 and, like, the cool controller, the Pip-Boy controller they showed this
and
week.
the fact that it's a PC game as well.
Exactly.
I think
Like,
that
there's a ton of cool Microsoft benefits, don't get me wrong, but, like, the story DLC and the things that, like, people are going to pour still hundreds of hours in, you'll have day and date on PS4.
I mean, there is also, this is the first sort of big Bethesda game on the new platforms, and last generation, a lot of PS3 owners got burned by Bethesda with Skyrim and with Fallout. And so I don't foresee that happening. I can't imagine on the 11th the game comes out and it runs horribly on PS4. I don't imagine that happening.
Well, but that's kind of the point, right? Is that's because of, like, the PS3 was completely different architecture and harder to develop for. Like, now it's almost the opposite. Like, now the Xbox does have, like, a less powerful system. And so, like, I don't think that'll happen ever again. Like, I think it'll run great on Xbox One, but I'm just saying, like, it's going to be just fine on PS4 more than likely.
You read stories about how 77% of PS4 owners never played The Last of Us and 80% never played Uncharted. Like, I wonder how much of that is really, like, people still holding a grudge. I mean, everyone in this room remembers trying to play Skyrim on a PS3 and, like, running out of space, and you had to put stuff away before you opened the door, then you would pick it back.
And it would start running at 1 frame per second.
Garbage like that, which was just like, this is completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. But I don't know how many people still hold on to that. But I think the gamble with the exclusive stuff and sort of like, you know, back pocket publishing deals like this, which is like, you know, if Microsoft gives Bethesda $50 million behind the scenes to be like, kind of lean towards us a little bit, do they make more money doing that than they would just kind of pushing towards PS4 and making those sales up? Like, I guess that's the question.
I don't think it's really so much of a lump sum as much as it is like, you are the minute every single person who owns an Xbox One turns it on is promoting Fallout 4.
Right.
You are in our holiday commercial that's promoting everything Microsoft. Fallout 4 is front and center.
Yeah.
During our press conference, which is watched by X million of people, there's 10 minutes dedicated to Fallout 4. It's more stuff like that. It's like
it's an interesting landscape.
Bespoke marketing content rather than the actual money.
You're also dealing with like companies that I think that in all cases, these are like Bethesda, Sony, and Microsoft are all big enough that they know that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
They might not be number one, but like Fallout 4 is going to sell real good.
Yeah.
It's going to do just fine. It might not be the best-selling game of the year. I mean, has their stuff ever been like?
No.
They're never in there. You know, it's not GTA or Call of Duty.
Skyrim did incredibly well.
It did really well, but it wasn't number one. You know, and I think that they understand that their stuff is like. I recommended Skyrim to my my brother-in-law, and he was like, he got an Xbox for Christmas, and I'm like, dude, get Skyrim. And he texts me like a day or two later, and he's like, this game sucks. I want to shoot stuff.
Yeah.
What do I get? And he like traded it in like right away.
Yeah.
And
Well, and that's the interesting.
Right.
It's again like such a different landscape compared to Skyrim, because Skyrim was 2011 when Call of Duty sales hadn't really declined yet. And also like there have been like obviously Fallout 3 came out a while back, and yes, there was New Vegas, but that wasn't Bethesda Game Studios, that was Obsidian. And so it's this really interesting thing where like this is the first like big like pure Bethesda Game Studios game, and it's coming out in a very different landscape where it is a new generation where the install base is by sheer time just smaller than it was at the point where Skyrim released on the previous platforms. And so I don't know, like I think like it'll be really interesting seeing like maybe it will be number one, but I also don't think there was a time like when Metal Gear 4 came out, I don't think I ever would have expected a Metal Gear 5 to top sales charts either.
Yeah.
It's weird paying a console manufacturer a ton of money for the discoverability square on the homepage of their console when it's probably something they would have done anyway, right?
Yeah, but it's more of that like locked in. Again, it's like there's one in the average Walmart or whatever it is. There's one Xbox kiosk,
right?
And it's like, yeah, it's probably gonna have Halo in it, but maybe this means sometimes that's Fallout, and maybe that's more mainstream. Like they like. A game like Fallout, they know they're going to sell it to you or to me or to like the game nerds. They probably are not necessarily going to sell it to the random high school kid who's never played a Fallout game, who's walking through a store or whatever it is. And I think that's maybe, I mean, to some degree, maybe the audience that they can get by doing something like this.
It's a weird game, the demo too, right?
Yeah, and Fallout's exactly. Fallout's a weird example of that. It's like. It's always weird demoing gigantic open world games like that because you get 4 minutes with it. Like even at a show like E3 or something.
You're gonna pick up things because that's what you're supposed to do in a game. And if you've never played a Bethesda game before, you're gonna just get over encumbered. And you're like, man, this game is slow.
And even like Fallout 3, if you were to start that game brand new in a store from the beginning and like make a character and go out into the world, you can literally take a wrong turn and get killed by mutants like 10 seconds in, like before you've even actually gotten to
I think
do
that
anything.
was most people's experience with Fallout 3. That was mine. It was basically walk outside of the vault and start picking stuff up, and then all of a sudden you're addicted to radiation, poisoning, and drugs.
Delicious toilet apples from Dandy Boy.
You're stuck in a sewer somewhere. I think I told the story on the show. Like I got all the way to like the downtown area, and there was this gunner on top of a roof with like one of the best guns in the game. And I was like, I don't even know how I got this far. Like I don't even have a weapon yet. I just kept wandering like a homeless person. And this gunner fell off the roof trying to kill me because I was standing underneath him, and he fell and he died, and I picked up his gun. And I was this like mutant, radiated, addicted toilet apple eater walking around with one of the best guns in the game. And I'm like, I have so much power. It's great.
I like that.
Yeah.
So speaking about Battlefront. We have to talk about Battlefront because Star Wars is the thing we want to talk about. It's all we talk about. We were just at the coffee shop before recording this, and we were all doing Han Solo impressions, and a couple of real pretty girls just gave us the angriest look and left the building.
Felt like high school all over again.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Speaking of Han Solo and Leia and Palpatine have all joined Battlefronts. All of your favorite friends who ride together in the Falcon.
Palpatine's gonna look so weird, like on Hoth when like an old man in a robe is running around with lightning bolts out of his fingers.
It's funny though, like
it being there.
he has like force lightning powers powers and stuff that seem really interesting, and like Leia can call him like,
dirty dog.
Leia can call him like supply drops and things from other rebels. Like I think like the way they've tuned each of these is really interesting.
No, it's
Wait,
gonna look.
let's break this down. Like,
Okay.
what are their powers and stuff?
Yeah, Leia has supply drops, and I think
She's more defensive. Basically.
exactly, yeah. And Palpatine has Force Lightning, and then he has like Force Bursts, I think it is, where he can do like more sustained damage.
Which I was going to say is really cool because I think from the jump we sort of assumed that all the heroes were coming in and they were going to be these badass sort of like gunslingers or lightsaber holders, like basically attacking stuff like that, but also having this kind of perk that's a hero that can come in and sort of like give you a bunch of supplies or give you a bunch of defensive things or build a shield or something like that is really cool. That means that it totally opens up the doors to pretty much any Star Wars character.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and that's actually one of the things you were talking about earlier is the interesting, like obviously we've seen original trilogy characters in this, but Max, like you were saying some really interesting stuff earlier about like what that season pass could mean.
So the thing we're forgetting about Star Wars, or maybe not forgetting, is that there's a whole lot of people out there who really like the prequels. You know, people who are probably going to be playing this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also the fan base of the Rebels and Clone Wars series.
Yeah.
And Battlefront's interesting because it is, I mean, it's all photogrammetry of original old school props and faithfulness to how the original trilogy feels. If you try to insert a bunch of Gungans riding on Kadu and throwing around like boomer balls or whatever those things are, a bunch
I
of
almost cursed on the show.
koosh bombs.
I hated those koosh balls.
Goosebumps?
Yeah. But that's the thing is like
Those bouncy balls they threw all over that dumb
At some
field.
point, those are going to be in there because we're in past Battlefront games, and honestly, like
Roger.
babada babada. Yeah, I kind of, I don't like the prequel stuff, but
Yeah.
if they can somehow manage to take the prequel aesthetics and put them in a Battlefront in a way that looks.
Almost like
it
if the
matches
prequels-
that.
Yeah, they can know. They
Yeah.
can just scan all those models that they never made.
I mean, that's the weird thing is they did make models of some of that.
They made a
stuff.
couple, yeah.
If they managed to
They
scan
can
that,
get on
and-
that Beston and scan them.
I mean,
I mean, I think like there are things like a clone trooper or like Jango
Yeah.
Fett or like characters
Totally.
that would look like a good part of this.
no, some
series.
stuff that's once they get more kind of like Clone Wars oriented, I think that it's very likely we're gonna see Rebels stuff in there eventually,
Yeah.
like pretty soon. Rebels has stormtroopers, it has Vader, it has some these kind of it has stuff that's inspired by like Ralph McQuarrie designs. It also they've got an action figure of Kanan from that show.
Yep.
And it's like done in a very realistic style, which is kind of he's also in a comic book. It's like Kanan the Last Padawan or whatever.
Right.
And it's not doing that kind of post Gendy Tartakovsky like Clone Wars aesthetic. It doesn't look
Yeah.
cartoony at
Yeah.
all, and that could totally fit in there. That could be really interesting. I think that as we approach the Force Awakens, we're getting that weird that Battlefront DLC, the Battle of Jakku,
Yeah.
which is such cheap advertising, the way that they're jumping on that, and it makes complete sense because you know that the more assets from the Force Awakens that are out there floating around, the more likely it is something's going to leak or something's going to get screwed up in the marketing scheme.
Yeah.
The Battle of Jakku DLC we're going to see, or whatever, it's like free DLC.
Yep.
It's a planet. The planet is the thing from the movie that we're seeing. It's that
The
Crash
desert
Star
planet,
Destroyer,
yeah.
but it's going to be taking place around Return of the Jedi or after Return of the Jedi, not the same time as The Force Awakens. So you're going to be seeing the same stormtroopers and snowtroopers and rebel pilots and stuff running around that you see in regular Battlefront. It's still going to be an original trilogy
you won't
set
see
game.
snowtroopers.
Yeah,
because that's
but-
hot.
Well, yeah, they get heat stroke and they
real
fall
sweaty
over.
boys.
They walk really slowly.
Why did I wear this fur-lined suit?
No,
Milk was a bad
I don't
choice.
actually. I don't know if I don't know if you're seeing it around the time of Jedi. I think there are going to be Crash TIE fighters and Star Destroyers.
I mean, there's going to be crash and stuff, but you're going to be seeing you're going to be living the battle that Rey is salvaging in The
Right.
Force Awakens. It's
Point
like
being-
you are
point
not going to be
being-
playing as like Kylo Ren. You're not going to be
Exactly.
playing as the
Right,
new
right.
stormtroopers.
Yes.
Well,
but
yes.
when you say
Yes.
right, that's going to come eventually. That's going to
Yeah.
come out real soon. If
Yep.
they announce that kind of day and date with the movie coming out, that would be smart as all hell, and
Yeah.
it would not surprise me one bit if they're like, hey, remember that season pass, that Ultimate Edition? You're getting the first Force Awakens game right
So-
here. Here you
Yeah.
go.
We talked about this last week, but this is exactly why I bought the season pass because I'm all in on this.
Yeah.
And I'm just I want when we get those emails that are just like tonight we're adding blah blah blah, and I come home and it's like ooh presents, and I don't have to pull out my credit card and buy things.
So-
again.
Yeah, and it would be cool if they did as like a stealthy. Oh man, I would love if they just had like an update go live, like the week Force Awakens comes out, and it's like, guess what? Everybody now has Finn and Rey and Kylo Ren.
I think they know what's up.
Yeah.
I mean,
But also that'd be throwing a lot of money away.
Yeah.
So that being said, I think the season pass it's going to get into some Force Awakens stuff, but I think it's going to get into way less. I think the prequel stuff might come way later.
Oh, it's totally going to come way later.
Yeah,
I
but
think
I think
they're going to tiptoe into it.
Yeah.
They're going to come. We got Rogue One coming out.
Yeah.
That's a prequel movie.
Yeah.
But they're doing it in a way, oh, no, it's an anthology that takes place before A New Hope.
Yeah.
It doesn't take place after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
It takes place before A New Hope.
Yeah.
It's a different thing to say.
Yeah.
And it's also, that's going to be very Republic Commando.
Yeah, this game right now has been leaning very original trilogy and obviously large chunks of it. I mean, they're in the beta was Sullust, which is that new sort of like Hawaii burnt volcano.
That's where Lando Calrissian's best friend Yen Yum is from.
That's right. So one thing that I really found interesting about that, and I was talking about this last week.
That's just something.
I know, buddy. You're telling me. I don't understand a word he just said.
On the drop zone map,
Just about Cold 45.
that you play there, there's all those little like gas pits you fall into, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. And I'm running around going like, oh, this would be perfect for like an actual dedicated Jabba's palace like backyard kind of. So you're fighting from like the skiffs, and then you fall down, and you knock people into Sarlacc pits, and it's just like build this huge kind of sand area in this kind of like sand valley, and put floating ships over it. Put Jabba's palace in the background with that fat frog that sits outside.
That's Boobo the frog dog.
put all these Sarlacc pits in there.
Here's the funny
that would
thing.
be awesome.
The funny thing is, EA obviously gets a lot of and always has. Oh, sorry. For season passes and annualized games and blah blah blah. And that, like, I think some of that justified. But any of that said, or all that said, like Battlefield 4 just got DLC. Battlefield 3 had DLC for almost 2 years after release.
Yeah.
And again, people were mad about it. But in this context, I think people are going to be really excited that this game could be supported for, like, Rogue One could be out on Blu-ray, and this game could still be having DLC come out.
And they could be like, hey, we just added Cloud City. You know?
Exactly, and that's a cool thing. Like, I think like the Star Wars universe is so incredibly rich that like I think they're like everything we're saying is barely scratching the surface of like if they really want to do like deep cut things, they really could.
Yeah,
and that's so exciting.
I'm looking forward to that. I think that what's worth looking at is that you look at something like Disney Infinity, you look at something like Destiny. There are these multi-million-dollar platforms for distributing new content. The fact is we're not getting a licensed Force Awakens game, but we're getting a Force Awakens Disney Infinity pack that comes with Kylo Ren and Rey and BB-8 or whatever. Yeah. And it's going to have like a little campaign baked into it. I think that Battlefront is kind of it's kind of the same model. I think we're going to see that. And I guess, like, what do you compare this to? I think Battlefield's a good one, obviously, but we're getting kind of to like expansion pack territory.
Yeah, totally.
I don't think that we're going to see Battlefront 2 coming out next fall. I think it's going to be like a Taken King kind of situation.
Yeah,
where they're like,
I
it's
think
going to keep growing.
Also, realistically, you'll probably see Battlefield 5 before you see Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
Like, but I do think that they'll keep supporting this. Like, I think it's really cool that like EA just released DLC for Hardline and Battlefield 4, like right before this comes out, which is really smart. And like honestly, like I like that idea of like you can make that $6 investment, and sure, maybe this DLC is $5 or whatever, but so, like you can
I wanted to address that real quick because I got a bunch of tweets from people being like, "You're a hypocrite," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know, I'm a human. I'm sorry." But I went on the show talking about how the Batman season pass was kind of garbage because people were buying into it before knowing what they were getting, and then I turned around and gave $50 to EA. To sign up for this Battlefront season.
But that's your choice as a consumer. You like Star Wars.
But it's also like
Batman.
I think that the history of stuff that we've seen DLC wise for the Batman games hasn't been nearly as interesting to me as knowing what the Battlefield guys have done in terms of supporting those games after the fact.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And also, like I said last time, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's like I feel like I'm 5. I can just say it's
but that's the thing about fandom. I think that's okay, right? Like I think it makes sense that like I will spend $70 on a dumb Persona toy, and I'm not going to spend $70 on a Star Wars toy. Whereas, like, plenty of other people feel the opposite. Like,
yeah,
I think
I know that somebody else's, like, Penguin's helicopter is my Jabba's palace.
Exactly,
so they're all dumb. Speaking of which, I really
sounds like the most convoluted safe word you could have.
I know.
Penguin's helicopter.
Speaking of which, while we're talking about things we want,
home.
I do want the sort of like. So what I really love about Jabba's palace, and I talk about this all the time, is just how like weird. I didn't finish the curse word about how weird and strange it is, and it's full of strange characters, and it's also like there's tunnels going off in all these directions that you don't really see. And it'd be cool if they built a map like that had a Rancor in the center of it that worked sort of like these heroes do. So the way you have Han Solo, Leia, Palpatine, and or Luke and Darth Vader in the beta, being able to call on a Rancor, or even going to Hoth and being able to call on Wampa or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I want to see him get into. Right now, you're talking about how it feels a little safe. It feels a little sort of just like good guys versus bad guys shooting each other.
One of the things I thought evolved it really well is sort of the NPC flora and fauna that will mess with people. I think that would be
so much.
really awesome on
so
these
much.
levels. Yeah.
Also, they're doing very very battlefieldy levels. So far, we've seen like couple planets we don't really know about. There's a part of Tatooine that has like some Tusken Raider villages, which never really show. I mean, it's where Anakin had a temper tantrum at one point, but like it's nothing really special about it. We've got the Battle of Hoth, which is like, okay, it's Alaska.
They just call like the genocide of the Tusken Raiders. Temper tantrum.
We're gonna be starting on that. I will talk about just Anakin. I hate them. I kill them like animals.
Leave my mother alone.
I love you. You're not like sand. I hate sand, where sand people live.
Gets inside of your shoes and your Nintendo DS, and your car. It gets on your weird horse.
I really want some actual like Star Warsy levels. Like Hoth is cool. I mean, Hoth is cold. Hoth cold, but like Endor is a 3-hour drive from here. Like it's big trees.
Yeah.
We haven't even really seen Ewoks doing anything. I want like
the Endor demo that you and I saw at Celebration was gorgeous.
Yeah, but there weren't.
You're right.
Yeah.
That it wasn't like there was a couple. You see a chicken walker come in, and there's the AT-AT comes in, and there's that sort of like little area that the indoor area that's like this kind of terminal that you see Darth Vader in. But yeah, you don't really see like Ewoks setting up traps.
I think they're really shooting. If you'll allow me, for the shooter crowd. Like they've got military hardware, they've got military people, but like they're gonna scare them off if they've got Muppets in there too soon. Yeah. But the second they announced that Wicket is a playable hero, and he just runs super fast and gores people with like a shotgun stick,
and all of a sudden 2 trees come in from the sides. And
that's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. That is the most interesting thing I think a game can. It's like why I like Game of Thrones, right? Because Game of Thrones is like, you have this guy versus this guy versus this guy, and then you have the White Walkers who are just this unstoppable force that comes in from nowhere. And I think that's always a more interesting thing is like it's you versus you, and that's fine. But then there's like a third party thing that neither of you can control that can either help or hurt you. I think that's always the most interesting.
Well, it's like the way I was talking about that new Umbrella Corps game we played at Comic-Con, which is just like it's not very interesting as just a shooter, but the fact that there's zombies inside the level also makes it go, oh man, there's something something else I have to kind of deal with here. So I do love that idea of sort of just being like, was that a Minoc?
Yeah, that'd be great. I really hope we get some more of that. I want to backpedal because last week I talked about how I was underwhelmed by the Battlefront beta, and then something I'm completely embarrassed about happened. They put up that new holiday trailer for Star Wars where it's literally a video of a guy sitting at his desk who's playing with a Star Wars toy, and he's having all these flashbacks to like a birthday party where he's got like an R2-D2 cake that says Max on it, and he's hanging out with his friend there, lightsaber fights on a bed,
crying.
And then he has like a nervous breakdown and just throws a chair through his window, and his friend shows up in an X-Wing, and they're like, woohoo! And I'm just like...
No, if you take the X-Wing out of that video, that is a video of a guy committing suicide.
Which is great. I love it.
Like a guy being like, they put Vaseline in the office coffee again, and I'm losing my mind.
I know.
And he jumps out of a window.
I love that they are completely tapped. Like, and
his R2-D2 toy talks to him. It's like, David, you have to kill yourself.
Just do it, David.
Well, I love that. Dark. I mean, his name is Max. It's established in the video. His name is Max. It says
because when I watched that video, it said Andrew on the birthday cake.
Okay, so we got a big gas leak in the IGN office.
Well, I felt weird.
I'm like, I identify with this video, and I look over my desk. He's like covered in Star Wars.
I was thinking the same thing. He picks up that R2, and I'm like, I have that R2. My parents sent me a whole box of all of my old Star Wars toys, and I'm like, I have that R2, and I look at my desk, and I'm like, I have 200 other things here too. I'm not this guy at all.
Yeah, no.
Like, also, when I want to play a game at work, I walk down the hallway, and this guy has to jump out of a window.
No, we're like, let's get in a room together and I'll talk about Star Wars. But no, like I completely just. Like you got excited about it and it caught.
Yeah.
Like you showed up outside my window with your X-Wing and you're like, guess what? I got the season pass. I don't give a shit.
You smashed your window.
Let's go to the coffee shop and scare away the girls.
I completely, I kind of am more excited about
December 17th. Those girls will have plenty to talk to us about when the Star Wars film is in.
We went to the Alamo Draft House, ladies.
No, what's what I really like about Star Wars, how it's really big and really popular again, and it's also sort of just like, oh, you guys want to talk about Star Wars now? And people are like, yeah, let's talk about Star Wars. And I'm like, no. I mean, like, You really want to get in there?
Yeah,
That's
Really
that's
wanna
what,
get in
that's
there?
what this year's been.
Because Max and I will have hour-long conversations by ourselves around no microphones or cameras, where I'm like, I bet you Bib Fortuna has to watch Jabba's belly all the time.
Yeah, and that's the weird
Who
thing.
do you think fills that bowl of frogs?
It's not canon anymore, but there was a short story about the things that Bib Fortuna had to do in his daily life.
That was always like when Anthony was here.
Wanga.
When Anthony was here, it was always that where he was like talking about Star Wars, and I was like, oh man, like Han Solo's the best, huh? And then he like went in a 45-minute rant about like Han Solo's history and when Chewie and him went on a vacation back to Kashyyyk and met all the other, and I'm just like, whoa, this is way over my head.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can kind of do that, but I'm also, I don't know. I watched the trilogy this weekend, and I just was like, I like this part. It's real funny because Princess Leia walks into some wind chimes. Trying to be real sneaky, but she's wearing a big hat, so she knocks into some wind chimes.
Yeah, I mean, that whole thing of... It is weird how mainstream it has now become, or how everyone is excited for this now.
Yeah.
Like I was going to a bar last night, and literally, like in my cab ride was when the trailer aired during halftime, and I got to the bar to meet up with people who I did not think would care, but they were like, "Hey, 10 minutes ago the trailer was on, and the entire bar erupted." Like everyone was watching the trailer.
I couldn't sleep last night because my mind was like twirling through fan theories of what was happening in this movie.
And that's the thing. And we were just talking about this at lunch. Like last night, Twitter was like the best place to be. Like it was like there was no negativity. It wasn't people complaining about stuff. It was just like every single person I follow geeking out over Star Wars, being super positive and adorable and excited, and like posting. Literally, people printed out tickets on their computer and took selfies holding them up. Movie tickets that we buy all the time.
So
like,
if you want free tickets to Star Wars, just print those out and take the barcodes into your local theater.
Man, yeah, that's
Yeah, I did. I got up in the middle of the night to buy more tickets. I bought 3 sets of tickets for opening weekend to see Star Wars.
And you started clapping, and your wife woke up and got mad at you.
Yeah. I woke up in the middle of the night, rolled over, grabbed my phone. I ordered 2 more tickets for Max and I to see Star Wars.
You're coming with us.
I went to sleep in my Star Wars Celebration shirt, and I read the short story Swap Meet, which is about a young Jawa named Het Nakik from the Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina. With my dog that looks like an Ewok.
I only spoke
Your dog absolutely looks like an Ewok.
For last night for dinner, I made a big bowl of frogs and water, and my wife and I ate them like Jabba monsters. And afterwards, I talked to her like
a little Salacious Crumb Boy.
Yeah, Salacious Crumb. I went.
This morning, my pancakes were shaped like BB-8.
Oh wow.
Should we keep going with news? Or
No, I was going to say real quick. So the bad news from all this, in trying to buy and I'll do a quick PSA here, in trying to buy the
season pass.
The season pass for Star Wars, I found something
got real
called.
frustrated. You just do what my dad does all the time. He's like, "Oh, what's her name? Oh, Glenn Close."
Smash my phone against the wall. Damn it, Glenn Close! I was so Glenn Close to that. So error code E-820000171 is Sony's new way of telling you that they don't want your money. So now hundreds of people are experiencing this. I went in the PlayStation forums and on NeoGAF and in the Podcast Beyond Facebook group, and I found that a lot of people have been really dealing with this thing. Apparently 2 or 3 weeks ago, the PlayStation Store updated, and ever since then, a bunch of people's credit cards have been blocked out, and they haven't been able to use their PayPal accounts or anything. So I had to delink all of my cards and then reconnect them through the app. And then trying it through their website and everything. Nothing worked. So finally, to buy the season pass, which was basically like a sort of like spur of the moment kind of thing of being like Star Wars, and I wanted to go buy it. Like spending $120 on a video game is not something I do like just for fun all the time. In fact, I do it almost never. But I couldn't do that because of this dumb error code. The problem is not on your end. It's not on your credit card's end. It's actually on Sony's. So if you're experiencing this, complain on their forums, call their tech support. Worst comes to worst, if you absolutely have to buy a game, go on Amazon and buy the PlayStation Network cards, basically just points, and they'll send you a download code immediately, and you can use it to redeem, and then you're good to go. But this is a big problem they're having. Sony, get it together. Your store's kind of a disaster. I was just talking to people in the Podcast Beyond Facebook group about how there's a bunch of problems in that store that are happening to people. Like, I don't know if this happens to you guys, where you'll go to open the store and it just won't load.
Yeah, I've had that.
Like 1 out of 5 times, and I have to basically hard reset my console or close out.
It happens on Vita sometimes too.
Yeah,
You know, I think the problem with the money, I think I know where they're coming from here. I have this problem in Metal Gear a lot, and it's when I have too much money.
Yeah.
And I think that the PS4 is selling too many things, and they're making too much money in there. And
their piggy bank's full. They gotta crack it open.
They've got 5 million GMP, and you're trying to buy some Haoma from them, and it's just not happening.
It's weird to piggyback off the story about how they had their best like digital month ever, and then I'm sitting there screaming at my television, trying to throw my wallet at them, and it's not working because you can't buy things.
That's like winning a race with a broken ankle. That's
exactly
pretty.
So
cool.
watch out for that error code E-28.
Yeah, don't
all those numbers.
EV99.
That's right.
Alan Tudyk walked away from Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the story was really interesting. Alan Tudyk, who you probably know from Firefly, and he's going to be in Rogue One, and he's a real handsome redheaded gentleman. Yeah. He talked about how he was actually originally part of Uncharted 4 and kind of the original incarnation of it, along with Todd Stashwick and when Amy Hennig was on it.
Let me read this quote real quick.
Okay, can you do it in Alan Tudyk voice?
How does that go again?
I don't know.
It's like your Harrison Ford. It's like your Han Solo impression.
Oh, just do it in a Harrison Ford voice. So this is Brian Altano's reenactment of Harrison Ford reading the Alan Tudyk quotes about leaving Uncharted 4.
I can't believe people listen to the show sometimes.
I worked on Uncharted, the one that is yet to come out. I was doing a role on that. Really, I hadn't seen Nolan since he and I had recorded years before. Chewie, damn it, get out of the carburetor.
All right, it's a long quote, so you get arrested.
No, I liked it. They fired. Let's add a massive sigh. I left. I quit. Haha. So I didn't like. I left because they decided to go a different way with it, and when they did that, when they changed leadership, it made my contract null and void, and I was able to take that opportunity to walk away, which was great because I got the experience of doing it. I made some friends, not with Naughty Dog, but I made some friends with the people that left. Todd Stashwick was in that as well, who is in Con Man, and he did the same thing I did, which was, we're going to leave now. Y'all are making some weird changes. We're going to leave. Sorry, Nolan. We left you. We just walked away. We abandoned him. So Todd Stashwick, Troy Baker ended up taking over his characters. He's supposed to play the gruff
for the most.
kind of.
He's playing the older brother of Drake. I believe.
Yes.
And Stashwick left with Amy, and he's co-writing the Star Wars game.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I think it's just interesting as kind of a what could have been. That's a big name to have attached. I mean, not really, maybe not a big name with like my mom. My mom doesn't know who that is or something. But like within the genre crowd, that's like a big name to have
Glenn
attached.
Close.
Totally.
So Glenn Close, exactly.
Yeah.
Star of Damages.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's safe to say that a lot of this is pointing to the fact that I think the game was originally more lighthearted. I'd be willing to bet, especially with an Alan Tudyk sort of character. I imagine it was
nothing bad ever happens to any characters he plays.
Yeah, exactly. Except that one time he got a big pole right through his chest. Yeah, and so I imagine that the changes were that this is going to be a darker game, which obviously Neil and Bruce coming off of The Last of Us, it's pretty talented.
Yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen, right? Like, it's interesting because, like, I think the Uncharted 4 we get will obviously be very different than whatever it was. And that's a really interesting kind of piece of history. I would love to kind of, I hope, someday we kind of get the, what was it kind of story. Because
I think it's very fascinating here how he talks about the contract going null and void because they changed creative direction midstream, which gave him the window to jump through to get out of there.
But I don't think that's uncommon. Like, you see directors leaving movies all the time.
No, it's not. But it's not very frequent that people call that an opportunity to walk away, which was great.
Yeah, I mean,
because I got the experience of doing it and made friends that weren't with Naughty Dog. Like, he's very specifically being like, this wasn't the best situation.
This is a really rare kind of quote to see because he's being very candid.
Yeah. Well, it's a rare quote to see in our industry. I think the fact that this guy is basically a Hollywood guy and he doesn't normally have to play by our rules is really good. It's good insight for us because you have somebody coming in being like, oh, I don't really know how they deal with all that. Which is like how a lot of stories get leaked is voice actors who don't necessarily usually work with games.
They're like, just finished recording my lines for Fallout 5.
Yeah,
and it's
people are like, wait, what?
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. I know, I'm really excited for Uncharted 4. I think it's always weird seeing quotes like this because you're only getting one side of it, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, maybe from the other side, they'd be like, oh, man, like, that guy came into work drunk every day. Not trying to start rumors. But I'm just saying, like, you never know, like, what the other side is. I think it's interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of odd when people get mad about video game journalism not being journalism-y enough because it's an industry that keeps a lot of tight-lipped, kind of tight-shut non-disclosure agreements and all that. Article went up on Kotaku today about Destiny.
Yeah,
great write-up.
So good.
That's
really,
a Jason Schreier joint, right?
Yeah.
Incredibly well reported by Jason.
He did a lot of digging around for like 13 months or something.
People will tell him to listen to this specific segment.
Yep,
Brian
and that's going to be annoying. Sorry about that.
No, Jason is probably among the best reporters in the industry for sure.
I've heard some rumors about this here and there. apparently Destiny basically scrapped its entire story several months before launch.
Yeah, summer 2013, I think they said they kind of rebooted it, and I mean, it's like really hard to paraphrase. Like, absolutely read that story. It's on Kotaku. It is the true. It's headline something along the lines of the true story of what happened to Destiny. It is just a really cool look at based on, and he worked on that for almost a year. He said it's just awesome quotes from people and kind of insight into what happened there and how it kind of restarted. I would guess they're going to talk about that on Fireteam Chat this week and probably know a lot more than we do. But really, really cool. I highly recommend reading that.
I mean, it's very interesting because I feel kind of hornswoggled by Destiny. Like, I was really excited about that game before it came out, and then I played it, and I feel like I got my money's worth. Like, I probably put, I don't know, 12 hours or something into it, and I got leveled up, and I sort of had a fun time, and then I was like, why am I doing this? I don't feel like I'm getting rewarded for anything, and I don't feel like the story went anywhere.
It's interesting because now it's so funny how many people have had that experience. Like, I think you were there, Mitch was there, I was there, but the people who've gone back now with Taken King, like, so much of that seems to have been fixed. And so it's like, I always feel bad saying that, right? Because like, I started Destiny and really I loved the alpha and the beta. I played a pretty good amount of them, and then the actual game came out, and I just kind of fell off really fast. So I would actually really love to go back at some point because you get that spark of light and it puts you up to, I think it's 25, and then you can get up to 40 and start kind of jumping into the Taken King stuff. I probably just said a bunch of things that were wrong. But no, seriously, like I'm super interested in Destiny now, and kind of the history of that game is, I'm really glad Jason kind of started this ball rolling, because I think someday there will be so many incredible stories about sort of this era of Bungie.
Oh, completely. But it's funny because he's got some stuff in there that, I mean, other people had dug up of early kind of Destiny promotional material where they were like, here's some stuff you can do in the game. Here's stuff that's in the game. Here's stuff that's not in the game. Which is kind of symptomatic of when you have an industry that's kind of this slow in making a product, but also putting that much money into it to the point where, like, Destiny gets announced. Pre-order Destiny now. You know, it's like, oh, all right.
Was that the game that was leaked in that, like, coffee shop dossier?
So, well, the original leak of Destiny came from during the Modern Warfare 2 lawsuit. There was a bunch of contract information about it. So the codename of it leaked, and which was just Destiny. It was the title, and then
great codename, guys.
A bunch of
always hide something in the most obvious spot.
A bunch of very specific contract details. Like, it was originally planned to be annualized, alternating with DLC, which was codenamed Comet, which ended up being the codename for Taken King. Every year there would be Destiny, Comet, Destiny 2, Comet 2, etc. It was like an 8-year plan. That was when they first used that Xbox 720 codename, because this was from so long ago. Super interesting. And then we had an IGN reader found a bunch of marketing material in a Panera Bread and sent to us, and I wrote that up in 2011, 2012. That was super interesting.
It was just like a folder full of.
It was a marketing firm proposing an ad campaign for Destiny, and it was a lot of official concept art mixed with like mock-ups they had done using like Command and Conquer art.
What's nuts is that the concept art for Destiny is wonderful. I got excited based on that, which is something I shouldn't do.
I think one of the most shocking things about the story too is of all the places to have a corporate lunch.
Panera
Bread,
Yeah,
really?
you get to pick two.
They got good soup, okay?
No, they do not. They do not.
Decent soup for a chain.
It's a bread-themed restaurant.
The broccoli cheddar is wonderful. If you are a Destiny fan, go back and watch the GDC 2013 Destiny panel. It is so interesting. The concept art they showed during that panel actually ended up being Taken King stuff. I was talking to Mitch about this today, and like, if you watch, they're talking about the classes in the game, and there was a class called the Tiger Man, which is like basically the cat class from Skyrim, and it's like this like very wizened tiger. Like, it's like nothing that's in the game at all. It's so interesting seeing how that game
changed. It started off being, after Halo, they were like, we don't want to do like a sci-fi thing. We want to do something fantasy. And there's like concept art of a bunch of goblins covering a giant toad and people fighting that, and like dudes who just look like knights and stuff. And
sounds awesome.
They kind of and I was really on board with the idea of doing kind of classic space fantasy. And like, I mean, not to point any fingers or anything, but I think that Destiny draws pretty freaking heavily from Star Wars. Like, you can kind of, everybody looks like General Grievous and Boba Fett, and they're all running around weird armor and capes and stuff. But.
And I think they were probably the first to admit that, right? Like, I think Destiny seems to have been sort of pitched or intended to be kind of that like MMO answer for consoles for like a sci-fi lover, basically, that like mixed all the best parts of all these things. And it's like they took a weird sidestep, which is I think why Jason's article is really valuable, because it gets into sort of what happened there. But now they've sort of righted the course. Like, everything I've heard about Taken King is that like the raid is really cool, and that it's kind of fulfilling, it's kind of scratching that MMO itch that like consoles need. I don't know. I kind of wish I was more into Destiny or into Destiny at all.
Me too. I mean, I was approaching it as somebody who loves Star Wars and wants a big stupid game to get involved with and kind of jump on day one, because like a lot of franchises that we talk about, I wasn't gaming when they caught on. Like
Yeah.
when Assassin's Creed showed up, I wasn't playing games really, and that's like a yearly thing. Call of Duty never grabbed me, so it's sort of just kind of bummed out on that front. But I feel like maybe the problem was I got into Destiny too early. Like if I got into it now, it might be awesome. But
Well, and I really like the thing Zach wrote for us, which is about that. It's about he jumped in Destiny early, didn't like it, stepped away from it, and now he came back in, and the game is actually very appealing now. I think like now is the time if you're going to jump in, because a lot of people are getting revived interest with Taken King. I know Keza used to work with us, got back into it. There are a bunch of IGN people, like Eric Sapp is super into it now. Mitch just started, like, I don't know. It sucks because like I really do. I'm like, man, I wish I could jump into Destiny. And I'm like, wait, Halo and Battlefront and Fallout and 20 other games I want to play are all coming out.
It's strange because there's a bunch of people at IGN who've told me that Taken King is their game of the year, and I'm like, Destiny came out last year. Should play a new game.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting if you look at those NPD numbers. We were just talking about Taken King is listed as like number. It's like within the top 10, and like it is selling super well. And I think like Destiny is really interesting because it's one of those. It's sort of this weird proof that like that game came out, the reviews were middling. Like it didn't really get a lot. I think it averaged out like 76 on Metacritic, which is not bad, but it wasn't getting like 9s and 10s. Whereas now, like Taken King is. Taken King is like something people really like and are invested in. So I don't know. Like I give a lot of props to Bungie for supporting that game.
I mean,
as well
it's got a sturdy skeleton under there. You know, they know how to make a solid game. Activision, kind of with the exception of like Tony Hawk recently, they generally ship pretty finished, polished games. And if they're going to be kind of janky, they are games that are, you should sort of know that going in. It's going to be like a downloadable Naruto game or something, you know, Legend of Korra. Somebody's going to get mad at me for making that slip up. But yeah, go read Jason Schreier's Destiny article on Kotaku. It's real smart, and it kind of gives some insight into how tight-lipped this industry is. Speaking of which,
segue, Maxway.
Yeah, the ongoing drama of Konami and Kojima. That almost rhymes, sort of. There's some weirdness, some weird stuff going on.
Everything's fine.
It's on vacation.
What to my recollection, this is the first time this has ever happened. The New Yorker, a magazine for old people who like art and stuff like that, broke a story
Funny
about
little cartoons.
Yeah, Hideo
Cute little
Kojima
italics caption.
leaving the company on October 9th and apparently having a farewell party and everything.
Everyone looked real sad. They were like lined up against the wall like it was a firing squad with little
just
cups of
holding their
champagne.
cups. Yeah.
I mean, it looked like the party from Office Space. They're
Yeah.
like, and if you, the Friday's Hawaiian shirt day, so if you want to, wear some jeans and. Anyway, but yeah, they talked to some Konami employees and said that Kojima's officially peaced out and is gone. Konami, meanwhile, Kojima hasn't said anything. Konami gave a statement that
I can't find my arm.
he's on. Marty is interrupting this podcast to put on a shirt. It's a shirt. For God's sake, Marty.
It's inside out.
This is the stupidest.
Your shirt's inside out.
This is the stupidest thing.
It feels like a particle blanket.
For those of you listening at home, Marty's having trouble putting on his stupid cardigan. Thank you for that, Marty.
Actually, it feels like the stuff they put in attics.
It looks like if you saw Better Call Saul, it's what I imagine like the brother was wearing when he had like the fire blanket lined suit.
Yep.
Anyway,
It looks like the kind of blanket they put on you when your house burns down.
Max, I'm listening.
Okay, sorry. He had a wardrobe.
Marty, you're handling all the breakouts this week. I'm done. Yeah, so Kojima is not. He's not gone. He's just on vacation.
Is that what they're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
That's what
Yes.
Konami say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Konami's like, he's on vacation. We've
shrunk him down and shoved him in a pachinko machine.
Still loves you. He's coming back. He just went to get milk in August. He's
there's a post on the Podcast Beyond Facebook group. I know very little about Japanese businesses, so I don't know if this is the case. They were claiming that it is fairly common for someone to end their time at a company by taking the entirety of their vacation time. So you're still technically an employee, but you'll take like all of the vacation days you've accrued all at once right before the end because you either use them or lose them. Maybe that's the case here. I mean, probably not, but I thought that was a really interesting theory.
I like this quote a lot. As for the farewell party mentioned in the New Yorker's report, Konami said, "We're not sure what kind of thing that was." Which is sort of like when you go out for happy hour, but you wake up with a tattoo.
Well, I love that it's not even an exciting. If it would be kind of great if it was a really insane party photo, and they're just like, "Well, we certainly don't endorse that sort of thing."
We have no knowledge of that.
They're just like they're having some cups.
We have no
something.
knowledge of this late afternoon champagne
They're like,
affair.
"Oh, goodbye party? Is that what we're calling that? That was just hanging out with a guy that's not going to be here forever kind of party."
Let's have a great vacation party.
It's not a goodbye.
It does say
goodbye
that,
is such a hard word.
It does say that. It does say that Kojima's non-compete clause ends, I think, in January sometime,
December.
December.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you're I don't know what kind of vacation time the creator of Metal Gear Solid gets, but I mean that's a good chunk of time there. You know, that's kind of reasonable.
I mean, again, like this is one of those stories. Like I cannot wait until we find out what the case is here because there's obviously some stuff going on, and like maybe Kojima does still work there, maybe he doesn't. Like I don't know. Like it's like we have heard so many awful things about Konami in the past few months. It's just like there's clearly something more to this, and I am very excited to see what
Has Kojima just ever come out and straight up been just like, hey, you guys are crazy. Stop talking about all this nonsense. Things
he's just like, look at this action figure. You can touch the boobs or whatever.
Like that's
Or be like, it's an amazing bird and it's a seagull. And you're like, huh, all right.
His Twitter is art. But
I love that man so much.
Yeah, I really can't wait until...
I traveled to North Dakota and met a man named Chef Boyardee who created a canned pasta. Here's a photo of it.
That's the thing I really love about Kojima is that he is an inverse weeaboo. Like he is a Japanese guy who's real stoked on American culture.
Yeah, he's like Uncle Traveling Matt from Fraggle Rock, where he's basically just like
that was a really deep cut.
Where he's like, I found a store that was selling varied colored tubes, but it turns out it's paint. You can't be eating them on the airplane.
Down in Fraggle Rock.
I think that's what Kojima's like. I think he
takes weird ass pictures of things that like he's sort of fascinated with from all over the world, and I think it's wonderful. It's also like he's like a foodie, but he takes pictures of food that doesn't always look that great.
Yeah,
it's sort of like Martha Stewart was doing that for a while. Or she was like, "Oh, a hen laid a wonderful egg in my backyard." And
if you don't have Twitter and you're listening to this, get Twitter and follow Hideo Kojima and then Martha Stewart because Martha Stewart's tweets are the funniest things in the world. The dog's got a possum again. Also. Bloody little mouths.
Martha Stewart, me, Kanye.
Yeah, get Altano in there for sure. Yeah, I think it's really interesting though. I look forward to Schreier or somebody years from now saying what happened here because like. I am sure there are 30 people who are going to be very excited to talk.
It's going to be
within Konami.
Real interesting. Moving on, Marty.
Yeah.
You played some Assassin's Creed.
I did.
Syndicate?
Syndicate.
Is that what they're calling it these days?
That's what the kids are calling it.
So what's the down low?
So the full review, Daniel Krupa's full review is going to be up.
He's very
Thursday morning. He's very handsome. He looks
His
like
mom
Jeremy Renner.
made a Groot that Vin Diesel cooked. Mm-hmm. Sorry,
how's that game?
Full review is going to be up 4 a.m. Pacific time on Thursday morning. But I've played a bunch of it, and I can talk about the first couple sections, and the game is really good. I'm totally digging it. It's by stripping away a lot of the multiplayer stuff and sort of the technical problems of Unity. It is a much more streamlined and fun and sort of relaxed game. It has a much lighter tone, which I really appreciate. Like, despite the fact that a lot of it's about the child labor and about like the poorhouses, but it's in a fun way.
And the stabbing of necks.
The stabbing of necks.
That Jack the Ripper DLC where you eat ice cream with them.
But Jacob and Evie, the twins who are the main two characters that you play as, are lighthearted. They're fun. They're funny. They're really well acted. It's like Unity was such a wet blanket that this is so refreshing. This feels like Black Flag again, to where it's like this awesome adventure that you go on. The core gameplay loop of sort of completing side quests and slowly building up your characters feels really good. It feels like Far Cry almost, where I want to do all the side things because I want to watch the map sort of get fleshed out, and I want my characters.
You were telling me that yesterday at dinner, and that was like, I don't think you could have possibly spoke my language better than that. That was like, and it sucks that Ubisoft can't just come out and say stuff like that. But that's what we have friends for.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're explaining that the two character system works really well in terms of leveling up and upgrading too.
Yeah, so you on the fly you can switch between either of them when you're not like in a main mission, and the way it works is that everything you do, you're gaining XP and you're leveling up, but they both level up they both draw from the same XP, but you level them up separately. So I was playing as Evie for like an hour and a half and slowly leveling up. And then when I switched back to Jacob, I got all that XP immediately. And I was like, oh, I went up 4 levels and I get to upgrade a bunch of stats. So it's like, feels like a little, like a mini Christmas, like a Hanukkah every time you switch over to a character. Is that what Hanukkah is, like a mini Christmas, right?
It's 8 mini Christmases in a row, culminating in a giant Kwanzaa.
Is that right, Andrew?
We're gonna get a lot of letters that are like, I think I'm angry.
I just celebrate Christmas.
Angry question mark? No, that sounds great. I love Kwanzaa.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. The side characters. Wrong one. Sorry.
That's Christmas.
The side characters you meet are like Charles Dickens and Frederick Aberline, who was the Johnny Depp in From Hell, and what's the phone boy who made that telephone?
Alexander Graham Bell.
Alexander Graham Bell's
The grandfather
Jonathan
of the sex.
Verizon. What is it? Bell actually stole a lot of his ideas.
Henry Boost
Christopher
Mobile.
Comcast here. Inventor of Comcast. Here's a gun. I like Alexander Graham Bell showing up and be like, "Oh, hello, I made you a machine gun." Like, I thought you made
he makes you an electric bomb.
Of course,
like
he
a bomb
does.
of electricity.
Of course, he does.
The other
When I'm not trying to communicate with people, I like to kill them. Hey, Tupperware, you want to talk to your friends with a phone, or you want to kill somebody?
the thing you're gonna love is so you can.
Ole, 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 ole.
This game has a ton of horse destruction.
Really?
Yeah. You get in a carriage, a horse-drawn carriage. You go really fast. You
Well, that
just
was a-
ram things, and you are just. I think I killed like 40 horses in the
That was
stream yesterday.
their E3 thing where they're like, well, here's the band, the White Stripes, and we're gonna throw a bunch of horses off of a bridge.
What E3 did you go to?
I don't remember.
Also, why are you using the Han Solo voice again?
Yeah, why? So horse carriage racing, is that a big thing now, or it's?
Oh God,
racing is
that's like the beginning of Revelations. which
Racing is
not some
the
fun.
the horses
that
feel really
stuff.
good.
We've had some real good open world horse games this year. We've
Yeah.
had The Witcher 3 and we've had Metal Gear Solid. How do the horse physics
You
controls
can't.
compare?
So the problem
to
is
the-
you don't ride the horse. You ride the carriage. You can't ride a horse like an actual horse. The carriage is a little cart that the horse pulls.
Did you say the horses feel real good a minute ago?
Yeah, they feel
I feel
real
like
good.
That should be on the back of the box.
Horses feel real good, but it's good. Just a ramming thing, and the horse is like my horse fell over once.
What happens if you ram the horses into
I feel
something and
bad
they
for the
get
horse.
hurt and then you can't? Like, what are you just pushing the gas in the carriage and it doesn't do anything because there's no engine on
There's
it?
no horse because
There's
it's
just
just
there's a decorative pedal there. You're
the
just,
horses can also drift, which is
Really?
really amazing. Yeah, like in real
Take
life.
that, Final Fantasy.
wow.
Yeah, it's really. I'm very excited to play more. I think people who were burned a little bit last year by Unity are going to
the stuff I played at PAX was great.
very
I'm
happy.
super excited.
Yeah,
Cool.
That sounds good. There's a grappling hook, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a little hook blade. Alexander Graham Bell fixes that up for you.
A Graham Belling hook.
A Graham. Oh, Jesus.
Put that on the
was really
box.
good. I'm not going to put
Throw
that
the
on any
box in the toilet and flush it.
Hello, I made a telephone for you, but if you want, you can use it to smash somebody in the head and kill them.
Take this handset and swing it around over your head. There's a small wire attached to it. You can go swinging from telephone pole to telephone pole. We haven't put those up yet because I haven't invented it yet.
But we'll be there.
History by Ubisoft.
Oh man.
All right. We got a bunch of questions from you guys in the Facebook group, but then we talked about Star Wars for 45 minutes. Oops. Here's a quick question from Che Masters. What is your comfort game, something you pop in every now and then, and it's like putting on an old pair of shoes?
Oh man, for me it's probably the original Legend of Zelda for the Nintendo Entertainment System. That's a game where somebody was playing it in the office a few years ago on a 3DS because I guess it came out on Virtual Console on handheld for the first time, and I was standing over the shoulder being like, "Did you just start?" And they're like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Bomb that bush." It's like, okay, cool. Wow, you got me an extra heart. Burn that thing. Bomb that wall. Go here, here, and here. And I taught them how to sequence break, and they basically had like 6 or 7 heart containers and like two or three of the best weapons that you can start with before going into the first temple, and then just walked in there and just murdered everybody. Like, that's the game. I just know it. I know it so well, and I had this awesome moment like when I first moved in with my wife where she was just like,
No, we can go. We got audio on the thing. We're fine. Let's go.
You're good. Keep going.
so we're
We had a quick
Yeah, we
tag
got
list
audio
after.
on
You're
there.
good. Yeah, we have camera audio.
no, so I had this. Is it working?
No.
No, we're good. We got camera audio.
I had this moment. Okay, God damn it. I had this moment where I moved in with my wife, and she was like, "Do you have the first Zelda game? Do you have the old Zelda game for Nintendo?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Can we play it?" And she sat down, and over the course of that weekend, I like just kind of sitting off to the side, I watched her beat the game from start to finish, and it was just like, "Oh man, I'm gonna marry the hell out of this woman." And I was sitting like in our apartment, just being like, she was like, "What should I do here, honey?" I'm like, "Oh, bomb that bush." And I was kind of like being her little fairy.
Your little Sherpa.
But that's like like it's once or twice a year I'll play through that game, start to finish. I just know it so well. It's totally like there's no surprise to it with me anymore. But it's kind of knowing that comfort of being like, this is going to be I don't have to think about this game. I have this one.
Yeah, that's why I go back to a lot of 16-bit games, a lot of Super Nintendo games, from Mario World, A Link to the Past, to Chrono Trigger, Earthbound, stuff that like it's nostalgic, and at the same time, like you said, it's almost frictionless because it's so ingrained in my muscle memory. As like probably the most recent thing is like a Katamari game. That's the thing I can go in and just like clear my head. And it's literally, I mean, the game is sort of literally about like cleaning and about like accumulating and sort of like setting everything right, which that's like mentally, I kind of like that.
I was bummed the Vita one wasn't a little better.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, not the Vita, I don't think the Vita one is like awful or anything. And like if you can get it really cheap, I still recommend it. But yeah, like I totally feel the same way about the kind of Mario games. And the Vita one controls made it just too frustrating to give me that sense of sort of relaxation that I think the PS2 ones give me.
I think I have a handful. There's definitely Link to the Past. I go back to that one a lot.
Yes.
I'd say more recently, Metal Gear Solid 2 is a big one of mine, but I do this thing where I'm like, I want to play Metal Gear Solid 2. I love that game. And then I realize that's a really stressful game, and I'll immediately stop playing it.
Yeah.
What's this damn tanker?
Yeah, some guys are going to come shoot me with guns. That's not fun at all. I'll just like shut it off. I'll play it for like 3 minutes at a time, and I'm like, all right, I suck at this, and B, this is hard, and C, it's scary.
Can you like beat the people have beaten the tanker in like 10 minutes or something insane like that? Like you can beat it like crazy fast.
No,
it happens a lot though, where you're like you have things in your head that you associate with your comfort food, and then you go back to play them, and you're like, oh man, that's I don't think I'm ready for that right now.
More realistically, like Far Cry 3, I like a lot. I go back to that a few times, just because it's like, hey, I'm gonna go burn stuff, throw stuff at a bear, you know. And Proteus on Vita is one that I keep on there specifically because like that is a game that takes, I don't know, what, 20 minutes to play, something like that. You just pop it. It's not even, it's not a game. Okay, that's fine. I'll play it repeatedly.
It's a thing. Yeah.
I had that with Lumines for a while, where I would just be like, I'm gonna just for an hour, I'm going to just disappear into this game.
The Vita one, like it was like time travel. Like I mean, I would sit and play that game in like an hour. Just
and you could like what I loved is just on that OLED screen, just zoning in on it with headphones in and just being like, you could be on a plane and be like, I'm not even here right now.
That game's so perfect for portable. For a while, it's not portable, but Pac-Man Championship Edition DX was like that for me, where I would just sit down and just play that game and time was just gone. Comfort games, I mean, I'm the same way as you guys. There's a lot of like those games that I played so much as a kid. Like Link to the Past was the only game I owned for a long time. Like it was because I had that in Mario World basically. And now like my parents bought me one game, and I had that for like a very long time to get like kind of everything in. And yeah, like Link to the Past, and then later Ocarina of Time or 64. Like those games are very, very easy to go back to and just kind of play. And yeah, like Ocarina of Time, like I remember where everything is. I remember all the weird hidden Skulltulas. Like I can just go through and just like. Yeah, frictionless is a really good term for it. Like I just feel like I can just like kind of zone out. More recently, Splunky is that for me. Like I just will sit down and I'm like, I want to play something, and I just play Splunky on Vita and kind of zone out to music or a podcast or something. And then yeah, like I'm in this sort of weird infinite loop of replaying Persona games at the moment. So like I'm playing Persona 3 Portable at the moment, and it's just like so like each time you meet a character again and stuff, like it's just like this really nice like relaxing. I'm a very big JRPG fan, mostly because it is very comforting to me, and it was for a very long time, to just grind. Like I actually really, really like grinding to like a podcast or music, or just marathoning a TV show while I play a game on mute and just grind levels basically. Like I always find that really relaxing. So lots of like I'll go back to like Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6 and things like that. I am super into.
Oh, I was going to ask you guys, just sort of like as friends, and throw this to the group as well.
Have you ever killed a man?
And our listeners, how do you kill a man? Don't answer that. So I was thinking about how much one of my
Kick him real hard right at the sole of the foot.
One of my favorite video game experiences.
It explodes.
Of the
it's
last,
amazing.
You got to kick him right in the heart. You got to leave him on his wedding day.
Kiss him and never call him again.
That's right. One of my favorite video game experiences of the last 2 years was South Park: Stick of Truth, and I think it was because it was a very condensed RPG, and it made me remember how much I love role-playing games. And growing up and grinding in games like that and leveling up and stuff like that, but how I don't really want to play an RPG that's 120 hours anymore. So I'll ask our audience if you can suggest a good game for me to play.
Child of Light.
Undertale.
I got pretty into that. Undertale I haven't played.
Yeah.
Child of Light gives you that satisfaction without, it's like an 8-hour game or something. Like you don't have to really invest in it. And it's on Vita.
Interesting.
I think the version of FF7 that's either coming to or just came to
the iOS one. You can skip everything,
Yeah, which is like one of those things where you're like, do I hate that? Is that bad? But
or is that
as
genius?
as that came out, we had somebody who was capturing gameplay from FF7 because we were doing some like retrospective everything about FF7 in 10 minutes or whatever, and he'd poured like dozens of hours into it. And it was like, we could have gotten the skip version.
Yeah, that was I mean, like there are a lot of games where if you played on sorry, I'm gonna bring up Persona. Persona, there's a game called, or I think it's Persona Q, but I think it might be in a couple other ones. Has a difficulty mode called Safety, which is literally like you can't die. Like if you die in a battle, it's like, hey man, do you want to keep going? It takes all your stats effects, gives you all your health back, gives you all your mana back, and then lets you continue the battle from where you were. Like it makes it really easy on you.
I'm not necessarily looking forward to something that will hold my hand from start to finish. I just want something that's a little more condensed.
That's short.
Yeah.
Just
something that isn't
Something
like
you can burn through in a weekend.
Yeah, something that isn't like an 80-hour story, which I'm like really excited that we are getting another South Park game, although we haven't heard anything about that game since E3.
Hasn't been that long. They have a lot of games.
Okay. Either way, thank you guys for the suggestions.
Yeah, Child of Light's a really good start. I bet you people will write a million other ones where we'll go, oh yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well, if you want to write to us, we are just beyond@ign.com. And of course, there is the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/group/podcastbeyond. Is that right?
Yep.
And you can find us all on Twitter. I'm Max Scoville. Marty is McBiggity with 2 G's and 2 T's.
Yep, and I got my sweater on.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I'm glad that happened on a radio program. And then
Tell him to stop
Brian
clapping.
is Agent Bizzle. Mr. Clappy over here. That's his new nickname.
Mr. Clappy. That's a great
Clappy.
nickname.
Real smart. We're out of jokes. We ran out of them.
Clappies with Andrew.
Andrew Goldfarb is Garfep on Twitter. And yeah.
Or Fardarp.
Nope, not that one. Stop. Although I love that. My favorite thing is somebody back in the day when. So Greg used to mispronounce my Twitter name all the time on the show, and somebody made a bunch of like, if you go to like, I think it's like Garpef and Garfeb. If you go to like all the wrong ones, it'll say like you spelled it wrong, and it'll direct you back to mine. I think that's really funny.
Cute.
That's awesome.
Very cute.
Max and I do a show called Up at Noon every Thursday at noon Pacific time live, or 3 p.m. Eastern time, or whatever your clock says in your town.
Andrew does a show called Hannity and Colmes.
That's right. He wears the bow tie.
Yeah, I do a cool show called The Today Show. You can tune in every morning at 7 a.m. Eastern.
You sing in your shower.
With his dad, Matt Lauer.
Today Show with Andy Goldfarb.
Thank you. It's like Troy Albert in the morning.
I don't know. I did that to the Sonic the Hedgehog game. I'm Andrew. I'm in the shower. I'm gonna take a shower. Talk to my friends in my phone, my invisible
The
friends.
shower hides the tears.
All right. On that note, Beyond.
Beyond.
We don't need to do that back and forth.
Beyond.
No, just kidding. Beyond.
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 I'm Andrew. I'm taking a shower. I'm gonna take a shower.